What is it?
It's a boy.
A boy?
He's beautiful.
What are we gonna call him?
We can name him after your father.
Tiberius? You kidding me? No. Let's name him after your dad. Let's call him Jim. I love you.
When Star Trek rebooted under J.J. Abrams in 2009, many wondered, could a brand new cast breathe life into characters adored for decades? The film answered with bold visual flair, emotional stakes, and clever nods to its sci-fi ancestry. It's a movie with surprises hidden in plain sight, Easter eggs, casting quirks, timeline puzzles, and more. Buckle up. Here are 25 strange and fascinating facts behind the Enterprise's rebirth.
This is Captain James C. Kirk of the USS Enterprise. Your ship is compromised, too close to the singularity to survive without assistance, which we are willing to provide.
Captain, what are you doing?
You show them compassion may be the only way to earn peace with Romulus. It's logic, Spock.
1. USS Kelvin's name and number. The starship USS Kelvin is named for J.J. Abrams' grandfather. Its hull number, NCC 0514, is a coded tribute. 0514 mirrors his grandfather's birthday and nods to Kelvin, referencing the temperature scale. It's a quiet, personal touch embedded in the film's lore, a mix of family and sci-fi mythos that few notice on first watch. 2. Real Earth locations for a future universe. Star Trek 2009 brought the 23rd century to life using real 21st century landmarks across California. The Del Mar T. Oviatt Library at CSU Northridge became Starfleet Academy's main campus, digitally extended to look futuristic. The Getty Center stood in for the Shuttle Bay meeting area, and Long Beach City Hall hosted Kirk's disciplinary hearing. Other spots included the Sky Rose Chapel in Whittier as the Vulcan Council Chamber, Vasquez Rocks for Vulcan's surface, the Pastoria Energy Facility for the Riverside Shipyard, and even an Anheuser-Busch brewery as the Enterprise's engine room. Real-world architecture helped make the future feel tangible, a clever fusion of sci-fi and reality.
I might throw up on you.
Jim, what?
3. HAL 9000 Easter egg. In Kirk's disciplinary hearing scene, a nameplate behind a character reads Dr. Chandra, a clever reference to the HAL 9000 creator in 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's one of many subtle tributes Abrams and writers tucked into the set, rewarding eagle-eyed sci-fi fans who spot the deeper nods. 4. Nero's mining ship was basically a Borg war machine. In the film, Nero's ship, the Narada, is called a mining vessel, yet it wipes out 47 Klingon warbirds, which sounds absurd until you know the backstory. According to the prequel comic Star Trek Countdown, the Narada came from over a century in the future and was retrofitted with Borg technology before it traveled back in time. Those enhancements gave it self-repairing hulls, adaptive shielding, and devastating weapons capable of shredding 23rd century ships. What started as a mining craft became a technological monster. Part Romulan, part Borg, and far beyond anything Starfleet had ever faced. No wonder it leveled fleets with ease. 5. Kirk's birth in a new timeline. In Star Trek 2009, Kirk is born aboard the USS Kelvin during Nero's attack, an event triggered by time travel. Since Nero's arrival already altered history, this Kirk technically belongs to the Kelvin timeline, not the original Prime universe. It's a subtle but crucial detail. His very birth marks the moment when Star Trek's history split into two realities. 6. Spock's resignation mix-up. At one point, Kirk says Spock resigned his commission, but technically that's not true. Spock only stepped down as captain. He didn't resign his Starfleet rank. It's a small script slip that even hardcore Trekkies debate. In a film so tightly tied to continuity, that one line still sparks forum wars today. And speaking of details that slipped through, this next one takes a closer look at the film's tricky timeline. 7. The Stardate 2387 myth. Fans once thought Star Trek 2009 mixed up its timeline by referencing Stardate 2387, but the number is actually spot on. That year refers to when Nero and Spock's ships were pulled into a black hole, an event that launched them back in time and created the alternate Kelvin timeline. No computer glitch, no mistake, just interstellar math. In the film's main timeline, those ships arrive in 2233, over a century earlier, setting off the chain of events that reshapes Star Trek's entire universe. 8. J.J. Abrams didn't get Star Trek. J.J. Abrams has admitted he was never a big Star Trek fan before directing. He once said, "I didn't get it. It didn't give me a way in." That outsider perspective turned out to be a strength. He reimagined the franchise for modern audiences without being bound by nostalgia. It's strange to think that someone who wasn't a lifeline Trekkie delivered one of the most successful entries in the series. Sometimes, fresh eyes see galaxies differently. But behind Abrams' sleek direction, some ideas didn't quite make it off the cutting room floor. 9. The deleted Rockman scene. One of the strangest deleted moments featured a character called Rockman, a creature that appears in the comic book adaptation but never in the movie. The sequence was filmed but removed for pacing. Fans still debate whether the Rockman should have stayed in, calling it Star Trek's weirdest lost monster. Somewhere out there, footage of the stone creature still exists, locked in a Paramount vault. 10. The product placement controversy. Star Trek 2009 sparked debate for featuring real-world brands like Nokia and Budweiser, rare sights in the 23rd century. In one scene, a young Kirk answers a call on a Nokia device inside his stepdad's Corvette, and later, the Enterprise's engine room was filmed inside a real Anheuser-Busch brewery. Fans criticized the product tie-ins, arguing that Star Trek's future was supposed to be post-capitalist, beyond money, marketing, and branding. Still, this wasn't the franchise's first brush with advertising. Earlier Trek films and shows had subtle appearances from brands like Macintosh, Levi's, and Jack Daniels. Abrams called the placements a necessary evil of blockbuster filmmaking, a small price to pay to bring the Federation back to the big screen. From accidental accents to missing monsters, the Star Trek reboot balanced serious science fiction with playful chaos, and the next set of facts takes us even deeper behind the final frontier. 11. George Kirk's heroic beginning. George Kirk wasn't based on any real person, but his 2-minute sacrifice in the film became one of sci-fi's most emotional openings. Played by a then unknown Chris Hemsworth, his character's final moments established the new timeline and gave the reboot its human heart. That single sequence launched Hemsworth's career and redefined the Kirk legacy, proving that even in a story about galaxies, heroism starts at home. 12. The Enterprise's origins. The design of the new USS Enterprise blended retro charm with 21st century sleekness. Production designer Scott Chambliss built parts of the ship from scratch, using real industrial environments, including an old Budweiser plant, to achieve a believable working-class future. The ship's engine room was filmed inside a massive brewery, giving it that mechanical authenticity. It's a creative decision that divided fans but impressed filmmakers. Abrams wanted the Enterprise to feel lived in, less like a sterile sci-fi lab and more like a vessel that actually ran on steam, sweat, and steel. But while the ship was built from factories, its timeline was built from paradoxes. 13. The birth of the Kelvin timeline. The 2009 film officially launched what's now called the Kelvin timeline. When Nero's attack on the USS Kelvin created an alternate reality, it gave writers freedom to reinvent classic characters without erasing the originals. This narrative trick balanced respect for the past with freedom to explore new futures. It was a masterstroke, the moment Star Trek became both a reboot and a continuation at once. Old fans could still cherish the Prime universe, while new viewers got a clean slate. Few franchises have ever managed a reset so elegant or so confusing. 14. The Rockman lives on. The deleted Rockman scene didn't vanish completely. Storyboards and stills made their way into the film's official comic adaptation, confirming that the creature was indeed filmed before being cut. Originally, it was part of Nero's prison sequence, meant to showcase another alien species he fought while incarcerated. The concept itself dates back to unused creatures from Star Trek V, showing how ideas in this universe rarely die, they just evolve. The Rockman might not have made it to screen, but it's still a favorite among Trek historians who love what-if moments in movie lore. 15. The Nokia and Budweiser debate. When audiences saw a Nokia ringtone and a Budweiser brewery in Star Trek's future, opinions split faster than a warp jump. For some, the product placement shattered immersion. For others, it made the world feel grounded and relatable. Abrams explained that real-world brands helped humanize the distant future, suggesting that some traditions, like beer, might just outlive humanity itself. It's strange how one creative choice about a cell phone and a beer label sparked such heated debate. Even in a galaxy full of time rifts and alien empires, nothing divides fans quite like modern marketing making its way to the 23rd century. From alternate timelines to old-world breweries, Star Trek proved that the journey to boldly go can be equal parts genius and controversy. Next up, let's talk budgets, critics, paychecks, and the big numbers that fueled this interstellar reboot. 16. Filmed across space and time. Sort of. Production on Star Trek 2009 began in late 2007 and wrapped in early 2008, with filming spanning multiple real-world locations, from a brewery in Van Nuys to the desert cliffs of California. Industrial sets were repurposed into futuristic environments, while digital artists layered in stars and starships later. Abrams insisted on keeping as many physical effects as possible, using lens flares, bright whites, and moving cameras to create that signature energy of modern Star Trek. It gave the film its grounded feel, one that bridged vintage science fiction and blockbuster realism. 17. The Two Winonas. In Star Trek 2009, James Kirk's mother is Winona Kirk, played by Jennifer Morrison, not Winona Ryder. The same Winona wasn't a nod to the actress, it was already part of Star Trek canon, appearing in earlier novels and lore. Meanwhile, Winona Ryder played Amanda Grayson, Spock's human mother. It's an easy mix-up, but the coincidence of two Winonas in the same film still makes for a fun bit of Trek trivia. Of course, for a film this massive, the numbers behind the screen were just as dramatic as what happened on it. 18. The Box Office Rebirth. With a budget of about $150 million, Star Trek 2009 was one of Paramount's biggest gambles of the decade. It paid off spectacularly, grossing over $385 million worldwide and reviving a franchise many had thought was over. The film's massive international success even outperformed several earlier Star Trek movies combined. Critics agreed. On Rotten Tomatoes, the reboot boasts a 94% score, one of the highest in the series. It wasn't just a reboot, it was a resurrection that proved nostalgia and innovation could share the same command share. 19. What the Stars Earned. When Star Trek 2009 launched, its cast signed on for surprisingly modest paychecks. Chris Pine earned around $300,000 to $500,000 for his first voyage as Captain Kirk, while Zachary Quinto made a similar amount as Spock. Zoe Saldana, fresh from Avatar, brought in slightly more thanks to her growing star power. After the film's success, Paramount renegotiated, and by Star Trek Beyond, Pine's salary alone had climbed to around $6 million. Not bad for a crew once considered an untested reboot gamble. 20. Merchandising the Final Frontier. With the movie's success came a flood of merchandise. Action figures, uniforms, replica phasers, model ships, and even lunchboxes celebrating the rebooted crew. Companies like Playmates Toys and Hallmark cashed in, while Paramount pulled in millions in licensing deals. From toy stores to convention shelves, Star Trek 2009 became a full-blown pop culture event. Fans could literally take a piece of the Enterprise home, proof that even in the future, marketing always finds a way to warp speed. By the time the credits rolled, Star Trek 2009 had done what few reboots ever manage. It honored the past, energized the present, and set the coordinates for an entirely new future. But the final stretch of facts reveals just how deep the film's legacy and strangeness really go. 21. A reboot hidden in plain sight. When the first trailers dropped, many fans didn't realize Star Trek 2009 was a complete reboot. The marketing carefully avoided the word, focusing on action and emotion instead. J.J. Abrams wanted audiences, Trekkies and newcomers alike, to discover the new timeline organically while watching. It worked. Instead of alienating purists, the film surprised them with a clever plot twist. The Kelvin timeline wasn't a replacement, but a branching reality. It allowed the franchise to boldly go forward without erasing what came before. 22. The Enterprise's new look. The redesign of the USS Enterprise was one of the most debated updates in Trek history. Sleeker, whiter, and brighter than before, it was meant to feel modern yet familiar. Designer Ryan Church called it the Apple Store version of Starfleet. Some fans loved its clean lines, others missed the industrial grit of earlier films. Whether adored or debated, the ship became a character in itself. The Enterprise bridge, with its glowing consoles and cool blue tones, reflected Abrams' belief that the future should look hopeful and cinematic. But behind all that optimism was a set that didn't always go as smoothly as it looked. 23. The lens flare obsession. J.J. Abrams became famous, or infamous, for his love of lens flares in Star Trek 2009. Nearly every shot aboard the Enterprise featured streaks of light bouncing off the camera lens, adding a dynamic, futuristic glow. Abrams later admitted he might have gone overboard, saying, "I know I get it. I overdid it." Despite the self-awareness, the flares became a visual signature of the reboot era. Love them or not, they gave the movie a dreamlike quality, as if the future itself were shining straight into the lens. 24. Leonard Nimoy's emotional farewell. Bringing Leonard Nimoy back as Spock Prime gave Star Trek 2009 its emotional core. His scenes with Zachary Quinto's younger Spock passed the torch between generations, literally and symbolically. It was his first Star Trek movie appearance since The Undiscovered Country, 1991, and marked his final major outing as the character. Nimoy later said it was one of the most moving roles of his career, knowing it might be his last in uniform. Seeing the two Spocks share the screen felt like cinematic poetry, one timeline saying goodbye to another. 25. A film that saved a franchise. By 2009, Star Trek had been dormant for years. The last movie, Nemesis, 2002, had underperformed, and the TV era had ended. Abrams' reboot didn't just refresh the brand, it reignited it. The film's box office success, critical acclaim, and new generation of fans gave Paramount the confidence to greenlight sequels and expand into streaming years later. It's hard to overstate how much this movie changed the course of sci-fi cinema. Star Trek went from nostalgic niche to global blockbuster again, proof that bold reinvention sometimes requires breaking your own timeline. Bonus fact: critics, cash, and longevity. Star Trek 2009 scored a stellar 94% on Rotten Tomatoes and grossed over $385 million worldwide on a $150 million budget. The reboot even outsold past Trek films in merchandise, from Playmates figures to replica phasers. It didn't just make money, it made Star Trek cool again. For a franchise once seen as too nerdy for mainstream, that might be its greatest achievement. From accent slips and lens flares to alternate timelines and heartfelt goodbyes, Star Trek 2009 proved that even an old universe can be reborn. It honored Gene Roddenberry's legacy while daring to twist it, boldly going where even Trekkies hadn't gone before. 50 years after the first warp drive sound effect, the message remains the same. The future is bright, the stars are endless, and imagination will always be humanity's final frontier.